This afternoon? I'll talk to you. Mhm. Hi, good morning. How's everybody doing? It's Wednesday, hump day. Yes, hump day, y'all. But the main thing I want to, I always take care of some housekeeping, give you all the information that's available to me. So I want to show you something real quick before we get into the meat of our lesson because it's just as important. Um, Let me pull this up, share this screen. Okay. What I'm showing you is let's see if I can make it bigger for you all. There we go. It is a list put out today by the school district to um, to show us where school lunches are being offered this summer, and it's a two-page list that I have attached to the reading assignment so that you can go, you can bring the children you're responsible for, and you can have lunch as well. So these are some of the locations, as you can see. It is about a page and a half of locations. And I've attached that again in Classroom. I will show you um, how that was attached. Give me 1 second. My lesson's not even up. Oh, I was just talking to someone and thinking, I got to start class. I got to start class. But here we go. Um, so, what I wanted to show you was this list. If you can see where the pointer is 2021 Kids Summer Meals, locations, dates, and times. That's the complete list for you to look at whenever you need to. So, what do I want to talk about today in reading is to be able to determine or clarify, make clear the meaning of unknown words and words that have more than one meaning and phrases by using context clues. What does she mean? Let's take a look at this picture. This picture is a perfect um, it's a perfect image for what I want to say. So if you look at the people and from where they're standing, if you're this man right here in the first square, and this is what you're looking at. What can you make out what you're even looking at? Uh, if you were right here, you might say, huh, that looks familiar to me. If you're right here and this is all you get, I don't know. You're down here, you might look at the shape of the hoofs and you might say, huh, maybe I think I know what that is. But if you're standing back looking like we are, you can see what that is quite easily. So that's context because I may not know what it is at this square, but when I'm standing back and I'm looking at the hints that are all around me, I can figure out what this is. I can get the meaning, the image in my mind. I know exactly what I'm looking at. That's context. So let's go back in again and look at this little slide about context clues, what they are and how we find them. So I don't have a slide thing to look at that. So this was a slide. We'll just take it a bit at a time. So what are context clues? They are hints. There we go. Boom. Just want to be able to look at one at a time. They are hints that the author gives to help determine a difficult or unusual word. So when we're reading something, the author uses words to help us determine meaning or context. We don't necessarily have images, but we have words. So the clue may appear within the same sentence as the word to which it refers, or it may follow in the next sentence. Because most of our vocabulary is gained through reading, it's important that we are able to recognize and take advantage of context clues. Notice I said we. And so there's an important point I want to make right here that the more you read, the better you are at it, the better you will be in inferring meaning from context clues. It just makes understanding all the better. And so I suggest that you all, if you've got a computer, I would like everyone to locate um, a daily newspaper, and I'll give you some names, or something that you can read every single day. You may not know all of the words, but the more that you do it, you'll be able to gain meaning from context. So, using context means to figure out what words mean by how they're used in the sentence or paragraph where they appear. There are several context clues you can use to help you figure out unfamiliar words. Authors often use punctuation clues to help the reader, and punctuation clues might include commas, dashes, or parentheses. So that's one way. And here's an example. Mary kept the deed to her mother's house. So retained and then kept. So there's our definition right there of retained, kept. Let's look at the next one. I wonder if that fruit is edible, able to be eaten. So if something is edible, it means that you can safely eat it. Okay. Types of context clues. There are 4 types that are quite common. The first are synonyms, words that carry the same meaning. Antonyms, words that have opposite meaning. By explanation and by example. Okay. Authors use clues such as synonyms, words with almost the same meaning, this is what I just said, or antonyms, words opposite in meaning near the unfamiliar term. And for example, reducing cholesterol has a number of beneficial results. One positive outcome is reducing the risk of heart disease. So the synonym to something being a benefit to our bodies means that it is a positive. There's a positive thing for our bodies. And here we go with another sentence. I despise liver, but I adore steak. So I hate liver, but I love steak. And this is me talking right now. I hate liver. My mama used to make it with the onions and brown gravy, and all that was great. It was still liver, man. So here we go with synonyms or definitions. A synonym is a word or phrase with the same meaning. Example, most castles had high walls and were surrounded by a water-filled ditch called a moat. Well, you just told me what a moat was. It is a what? A water-filled ditch. And the harlequin, looking at the next one, this is our harlequin. Like the circus clown, was a fool who loved to perform. So, what is a harlequin? A harlequin is like a clown. And a clown is a what? Is a fool. But there's something to being a fool. We'll talk about that later. Antonym is a word or phrase with the opposite meaning. Now, look at these words. Jerry is very clumsy, but his sister Jenny is adroit. Now, that's not a word we hear in everyday English language, but if Jerry is clumsy, then Jenny is adroit. So this is telling us that she is not clumsy, right? She's adroit. She's in command of herself, whether it be her body, her words. There are different ways that people can be clumsy, right? And let's take a look at this one. Unlike his quiet and low-key family, Brad is garrulous. So if his family's unlike his quiet and low-key family. So that's our first clue, the word unlike, which means he's not that. He's loud, and if he's not low-key, he's out there. He's always on 10, right? That's Brad. Always on 10. So here's our explanation. Sometimes the meaning of a word or phrase is explained immediately following its use. Etymology, which is the study of the origin of words, finds many teachers taking the bull by its horns when unraveling the mysteries of vocabulary studies. Wow. So, etymology, not a word we hear every day, which is the study of the origin of words. You just defined it for me. I'm good now. Let's look at the second one. A biographer, or one who writes about people's lives, is an example of an author. So, there we go. Biographer writes about the lives of individuals. And let's use them. These are very good words. Let's take a look. Example. Writers use words like such as, for instance, and for example to indicate examples, right? The student was suffering from anxiety. For example, when he first saw the test, he began to tremble. I used to get sick to my stomach. That was my test anxiety. But I found that the more that I prepared, the less anxiety I had. And then I also learned different techniques to breathing, calming yourself. Let's look at some more. Old Mr. Riley was quite spry for his age. Daily he walked several blocks to buy a newspaper, and I often saw him working in his garden. So, which words or phrases might help you figure out what spry means? Well, we already called him old, but then we said he was quite spry. So there, to me, there's a clue. Um, and then what made him spry? That he could walk several blocks every day. I saw him in his garden. So that tells us what the word spry means. Here's another example. Wilson put on a heavy coat, a wool scarf, several pairs of socks inside his boots, and fur-lined gloves to protect himself against the frigid weather. Okay, Wilson lives in Rochester. So what does frigid mean? Very dry, very hot, very wet, very cold, or very old. We know what frigid means. It is very cold. And in my opinion, Wilson's not done yet. He does not have a hat on. That's where you lose your body heat. All right. So, here's a word we don't see. I don't even know these words. Nippers, spraggers, or spraggers, don't know, an unfamiliar word. And mule drivers envied the miners and the laborers whose strength was measured in coal. Huh. So, what do we know? Nippers and spraggers are not like coal miners and laborers. Yep. They envied them, suggesting that their position is lower and less important. Yep. And if you learn what a word does not mean, you can figure out what it does mean. Low level workers work in coal mines. Oh boy. Here's a word, acrophobia, or fear of heights. That can make life difficult for tightrope walkers. You're a tightrope walker and you got acrophobia. And if you've never heard that word, have you ever heard the word acrobat? So acro means heights and phobia means fear of heights. Mhm. That's how we get that. Bibliography. Bibliographies are often placed at the end of a chapter or a textbook to list books in which you may find more information. Bibliography. Well, biblios, that prefix means book, and graphy means like a chart or a graph, right? So bibliographies are what? List of books, list of chapters, list of words, list of authors. No, they are lists of books. There you go. Another way authors help to make a reader aware of an important term is to use bold print or italics, and I'm sure you've seen that before. For example, the computer is a machine that accepts input, processes data, stores information, and produces output. Archaeology is the scientific study of prehistoric cultures by the excavation of their remains. So there we have it. Different ways that authors use give context clues to help us determine meaning. I'm going to get quickly to your homework. I'm going to do one or two with you. The rest is for you, my dears. And you've got what? Answer sheet. So let's take a look. Look around, meaning and context, the directions state to write each underlined word in the blank. Then circle the letter. Circle the letter of the word that most closely matches the underlined word in the sentence. Okay, there's no blank, that's not clear. Use other words in the sentence for clues to correct the meaning. The lost campers sweltered in the heat of the desert sun. So, if we're talking about the heat of the desert sun, could we talking about they ate in the heat of the desert sun? Doesn't make sense. They burned in the heat of the desert sun. They slept in the heat of the desert sun, or they sunbathed in the heat of the desert sun. Let's see what makes the most sense. I'm changing this to Google Docs. I can't circle it, but I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to do 2 for you. Text color, highlighter color. There we go. Congress put a tariff on overseas goods so that the price would not be lower than domestic products. So if they don't want the price to be lower than products made here, they're going to do what? Put a stamp, put a prohibition, put an ad, or D, put a tax. Also read it for, does it make sense? So they put a stamp on them so the price wouldn't be lower. They put a prohibition over, doesn't make sense. Put an ad, doesn't make sense. What makes sense? They put a tax. They put a tax. And last one, the scared rock climber balanced precariously on the edge of the cliff. Well, he was scared and he was on the edge of the cliff. So how's he going to balance? Balance gracefully, lazily, dangerously, or hopefully. If he was scared, and how would he balance? Hopefully or dangerously. He's on the edge. He balanced. He's just there. I'm saying it's dangerously. I don't know. You may have a different opinion, but you know what we can do? Let's take a quick peek at 3C. Where are our answers? You know what I'm going to do? Let's go back out real quick and take a look at 3. Dangerously. So there we go so far. What I want you to do is finish. That's all for now. See you later. Have a great day.